Hello everyone, welcome to my GIS501 project. My name is Alex Arica, and my focus study was on bridges in central Etobicoke, particularly those along the rivers of Etobicoke. Because my last recording ended up being over 5 minutes long, I'm redoing it to be very short, so I will go quite quickly through this. I have a story map, and I have the actual map that I made. And so essentially, I start off with the question, if you have a road that's split in half by a river, how likely and how important is it to build a bridge between them? You can find that out by plotting bridge data and getting some trends, so that's what I did. I came up with a bunch of different variables. I plotted bridges across the west part of the city, across Etobicoke, and made buffers to see how accurate it was compared to the base map I was referencing, as well as to official provincial government data. And I went on from there. I did some very basic analysis, which I'll get to further down. And as we can see towards the second half of this story map, most of my hand sample data was accurate. It is, of course, limiting because I only focused on bridges over rivers and not other kinds of bridges like road or highway, railroad, etc. And I classified the bridges only on one attribute, which is on what's their main purpose. Most of the bridges I found along rivers were primarily for cars and buses, so like road bridges. Some are pedestrian, very few of the other types. And the basic conclusion I can pull from this is that Etobicoke is a commuter city, or a commuter part of the city. It's a place people go through to get somewhere, not so much that people go throughout for its own sake. And that would explain the higher ratio of road-purposed bridges. Because if you're traveling a long distance, if you have to get places to be and the rivers are in your way, then you're going to want to go through the most efficient path possible. And that's essentially what a lot of my analysis highlights. I go into more depth, but again, I do want to make sure I get this done in under 5 minutes. Let's see how far along we are here. 2 minutes, not bad. Okay, this is my actual data, not the feature layer, just the end web map. I did use a couple of open data sources. I settled on a provincial government source called COT. I believe that's related to the Ministry of Transportation with the Government of Ontario. And if we go inside Map Viewer and take a look, we can play around with the layers and get a better feel for what I'm talking about. So first of all, here we are at the junction of several highways. I've focused on 3 rivers, Humber, Mimico, and Etobicoke, and a bit from High Park here in the southeast. If we only want to take a look at the exact data I plotted, you can see it's a number of points, but not too much data. I only put down bridge type because I did not actually go in person to collect all this data. However, when I contrast it to the official government data, I see I'm actually fairly good off fits. There's only small differences between my placement and the authoritative placements. And of course, I made buffers because I wanted to compare exactly how far apart I am. The problem is that my buffers are actually a lot bigger than I thought they need to be. They're 150 meters, and realistically, I probably would have been fine with just 10 to 20 meters. But they get the point across. I feel like my data was fairly accurate considering how long it took to plot all this down from the base map. And we can do a little bit more analysis by taking a look at some charts. I want to go and pull out the charts that I've made. It doesn't seem that they're showing up right now. We can refer back to the story map for this, because I do have a number of them in here. It's not the best example because it's squished, but the pie chart that I've shown here illustrates my earlier point that most of the bridges in Etobicoke are purpose-built for serious use, not for recreation. Majority are road, pedestrian, or bike, which is fitting. Relatively few are industry-related, but road and road-related overall dominates everything else. You don't really have a lot of like gulf bridges or dam bridges or anything of the sort, really. So I'm at 4 minutes now, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish this off by summarizing some other conclusions. First of all, the data, the sources I was comparing, all of them went way past Etobicoke, so that's one thing to consider. I've limited my sample size and still took a lot of work for it. Another thing to consider is that this is only a starting point. This is just where bridges tend to be and why they tend to be there. If I want to answer my original question, let's say about Rathburn, I'd have to look at other features like what might be stopping people from putting down roads right over here. And there's a lot to go into that. It can be factors like, residential neighborhoods, traffic density, local wildlife, pollution levels, but it gives you a preliminary sense of the question we're trying to answer, and so I feel like this project was a success. Thank you for watching and listening, and I hope you enjoyed and learned something.